everyone. Welcome to Ecoffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. I'd like to introduce you today to our special guest, Kevin Miller. Kevin Miller is a serial entrepreneur based in Los Angeles, California. He helps scale the best direct-to-consumer and technology companies with proven growth marketing frameworks that he learned at Google and various startups. He is currently the co-founder and CEO of a marketing agency called GR0. Kevin, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, Matt. I'm excited to be here.
Pleasure to have you. So Kevin, you've had an interesting journey so far. Who was Kevin as a school kid?
Oh, Kevin as a school kid. Kevin as a school kid liked to play around, have a lot of fun, was immature, loved basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And, thought he would be one day an NBA player. And
wow.
And so, yeah. I'm the youngest of 4 kids as well. I have a twin sister. I have an older sister who's 3 years older than me. So she's 33. And then I have an older brother who is 39. So I was just always outside, in Florida, playing in the neighborhood.
Oh, wow. Right on. Did you have lots of trips to the beach?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We lived about 10 minutes from the beach. Learned how to wakeboard at a young age and water ski and jet ski and do those types of things. Great.
How tall are you? Like, did you reach a height where you could have been in the NBA or?
No, I'm 6'1".
Okay.
So the best chance was to be a point guard, but no, I just love the sport so much. It was my passion all through my childhood.
Oh, awesome. So Kevin, when did you first know when did you first know you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Like, how old were you?
Well, I think it was a very young age because I come from an entrepreneurial family. My father is a world-renowned entrepreneur. He was the CEO of Budget Rent-A-Car.
Oh, wow.
And he took them public in 1997, and it was a really unprecedented path to do that because he didn't come from any money. He started as an assistant trainee at Avis in the Bronx, in the 1980s. He worked his way up, and the first location he was able to buy was in Daytona Beach, Florida, which is my hometown. My hometown is actually Ormond Beach, but I say Daytona because that's the larger city that other people know about. Mm-hmm. But that's why we grew up in Ormond Beach, is because that was the most cost-effective, cheapest location that he could buy, and he got a loan from someone for $5,000 to buy it. So he's got a really interesting story. And my older brother is also a well-known entrepreneur as well in the car rental space too. And so I knew that I wanted to do that because I saw that they had freedom of time and they had the creativity to go and build something cool, and I always felt like that was incredibly fulfilling. And I was always looking for a fulfilling career, but I just didn't know when it would happen. I didn't know what idea would be. I worked for 5 or 6 other people before starting this company and actually becoming an entrepreneur. So, I was always looking for my chance.
Yeah. Were there anything that stood out? Like, for instance, they say entrepreneurs like have childhood jobs or they work, like have paper routes and start lemonade stands. Were there things like that you did as a young person?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can, I always remember doing lemonade stands in my neighborhood. I did a lot of things that I think were scrappy. I used to, in college, this was 2011, 2012, 2013. This was when the iPhone was very, like, the glass was very flimsy. Pretty much everyone you knew had dropped their iPhone and their screen had cracked. Yeah. I would replace iPhone screens for people for like, $30, $40, $50. So I would go in and actually deassemble a full iPhone and reassemble it and put on a brand new, screen. And I would do that, to just make a little bit of, that was like for beer money.
Just for something to do to me.
To make a little bit of beer money. And then, I had several other, little tiny businesses. None of them really worked, at scale. Yeah. I never really made any money, but it always led me to the next thing. It always led me to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, until something led me finally to start this company, and it started to work, and it was something I could do full time. But I'd say before doing this full time, I probably tried at least 10 different businesses that all failed.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I had a custom Snapchat filter business in San Francisco where I would go.
Sorry, a custom.
Snapchat filter business where I would go door to door to bars and restaurants and nightclubs in the city of San Francisco. And I would say, I can make a custom, filter for everyone at your location for a specific event with your brand name and your logo on it. So people would be sending it out to their friends. They would see how awesome, this bar is. Then they would come, it would lead to more foot traffic. And so that was a really cool thing to do as well.
That's interesting. How did that work out?
That was marginally successful. I think I was getting, we were probably making 10 grand a month, while I had a full-time job. Wow.
That's pretty good.
But I was out, every night trying to meet with bar owners and club owners, things like that. It got a little exhausting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So what do you enjoy most about entrepreneurship, Kevin?
I think what I enjoy most is the ability to come into work every day and know that I have the creativity to work on and build what I think is most important and most exciting for me. I think I really get motivated by the unknown. I want to. I've never been able to do meal prep, for example, because I don't like knowing what I'm going to eat every day for lunch.
Okay.
I like spontaneity.
Yeah,
and I like being in a position to know that I have the freedom to create what I want to create. But much more importantly than that, I've been incredibly fulfilled by the team building. We have 100 full-time team members here at GR0 now. It's a huge milestone for us to cross, and getting to make a material impact on their young careers is the most rewarding thing I've done by far. I feel like I can play a real role in their livelihood, and it's an incredibly good feeling to know that I can do that and afford a workplace environment that's healthy, energizing, productive, and that's definitely the most rewarding piece of my role.
What do you like least about it? Entrepreneurship.
It's stressful, and if you're not careful, the stress can overtake you. Yeah. Okay. The stress can make you neglect other parts of your life, like maintaining a good relationship with a girlfriend or a boyfriend or parents or siblings. It's very easy to get caught up in your work and think that your self-worth is your work. That's a very dangerous place to be. So finding ways to not bear all of that stress on my shoulders is important. But sometimes it's out of my control, and I can succumb to it. So I think that's what I don't like. My mom is the opposite of me and my dad. She's a 9-to-5 woman because she wants to be. Yeah. She values the rest of her life, her free time, her time with friends, her time exercising the way, Elon Musk values his time at work, building rockets and electric vehicles. It's what makes the world go round. And so I try to be somewhere in the middle between those two.
Yeah. So how do you take care of your mental health then as a entrepreneur and C-level executive?
Well, it's taken real intervention from myself and from other people. I go to therapy once a week, Thursdays at 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. I am sober, which I'm not sure if we had previously discussed, but so is my business partner that we met. So I go to AA meetings. I go to AA meetings every day. Yeah. And that's very helpful. I've one tonight, in Los Angeles right after work is concluded. I started to do more self-care activities. So for example, there's a health clinic in Los Angeles called Next Health, where you can get IVs, you can do cryotherapy, you can get vitamin enhancements like via a shot, things like that. I started doing that a month ago.
Oh, wow.
And that is very helpful. They draw your blood. They say, hey, look, you're deficient in this vitamin or that vitamin. I take athletic greens every day.
Oh, I've heard of athletic greens.
Athletic greens is fantastic. If you're an eater and you don't eat really well, that can help make sure that you get the nutrients your body really needs to be healthy. So those are examples of things that I've done that are totally not regularly in my nature. But they're required to play at this level, to excel at this level of stress and responsibility, it's required that I make. And then on the weekends, I try to make time for myself. I try to go on hikes. I try to do things that are fun that don't involve work, because I don't want to live in a perpetual state of burnout.
Yeah. So you had mentioned the struggle with addiction, and that you're currently you go to AA meetings. How did that happen, and how did you get sober? If you could, I mean, I know there's probably a long story, but if you could, if you care to elaborate, I don't want to pry too much.
No. I'm happy to talk about it. I think in Florida growing up, when I was around 17, 18 years old, I got introduced to Oxycontin. I loved it.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got introduced to Xanax. I loved it. It made me feel comfortable in my own skin. It made me feel confident. It made me feel, a lot of different feelings that I hadn't felt before through in being completely sober. And I felt like I had found, the way to hack life effectively. I could use these pills to my advantage, use alcohol to my advantage, but it caught up with me. It became something where I liked it too much, and I became dependent on it over the years. It followed me to Washington, D.C., where I went to college. It followed me to San Francisco, where I moved after college, and it became a larger and larger problem. And so I reached a point in 2016 where I felt I was emotionally bankrupt. I had a great job. I was working at Google, but on the inside, but on the inside, I had a lot of things that I needed to work out, self-esteem issues, insecurity issues, imposter syndrome issues. I felt like I wanted to be a really good, upstanding person, but I couldn't do it. The drugs and the alcohol were holding me back. Yeah. And a lot of my friends who were close to me, they either had died from an overdose or they were in rehab. Oh. I was one of the few that kind of was still out there. And so I just didn't I wanted to have the chance to do what I'm doing with you right now so badly. Yeah. So I decided to get sober, and I knew where to go, because years before that, I started going to some AA meetings. I just didn't hear anything that I resonated with. I didn't want to be an alcoholic or an addict, because the stigma of that is so negative historically.
True. That is true. How did you, so first of all, what made you realize that, it was like your rock bottom moment? Like, was there a situation where it was like, my God, this terrible thing happened? Or was it a succession of events? Or
I had spent so many nights in the Tenderloin, which is like the ghetto of San Francisco. And I had been robbed. I had spent all my money. I had no money for rent. And I was like emotionally paralyzed. I couldn't do anything anymore. My brain wasn't able to function and think. I was like bedridden. And I was withdrawing from not having Oxycontin. And so I was kind of just at the end of my road, and I looked in the mirror, I started crying, and I asked God to help me.
Yeah. That's amazing. Now, did this happen after you worked at Google?
I was at Google, currently an employee.
Oh, you were at Google, an employee when this happened. Oh, wow. So you started going to AA meetings and those things while you were still employed at Google and getting. Yeah. Wow.
And before I even worked at Google, I was doing that too, but I just didn't. I didn't think I had a real problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I did.
Yeah.
It turns out years later I did. I just wasn't willing to admit that at that time.
Yeah. No, it's I think it will be inspiring for people to hear your story. It was inspiring for me, which is why I invited you to be on the show. I have friends who have recovered from addiction and some friends who have died from addiction. So I know what it's about. Something that you touched on that you shared with me is imposter syndrome. It's something that I have struggled with, haven't publicly talked about, but drove me to invest a ridiculous amount of money into training to continuously be learning, not really for the sake of self-improvement, because I was driven by fear that I would get found out for being an imposter. So how did you overcome that in your life?
The first thing I would say is I still deal with it.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is I try to give myself more credit, and I look at the facts of what I have done. Historically, I don't give myself any credit. Like when I started working at Google, it was a big deal for me, but then I was like, what's next? I didn't take 1 second to pat myself on the back for what it really took to get there.
Yeah.
Same Same with getting sober. I was like, okay, that's cool, but I shouldn't have been using drugs anyway. And
So you
then
disqualified.
disqualified stuff, even though they were big, same with starting growth.
Absolutely.
We crossed, $10 million in revenue, and it should have been a big deal. It wasn't really in my head. I'm like, well, okay, how do we get to 20? So that's just a way that I think. But then I started counseling with other friends, and they would say, look, Kevin, you went and did this, or you went and did that. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? That is me. That's the same guy. If I saw one of my friends do that, I'd be pretty impressed. I think they're the real deal.
Absolutely.
And, we have Paris Hilton on our advisory board. We have her husband, Carter, on our advisory board. We're invited to their house. We're expected. We went to their wedding. These are things where I'm supposed to be there, but it's still in my head. I'm like, wait, why are they inviting me to this? So it's just a cognizant recognition that I have put in the work. I do deserve a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And understanding that. And it's taken me a lot of time to recognize that. But I saw a quote by Kobe Bryant, or video, that really sort of changed my perspective on it. He said to me that he said on YouTube that he never got nervous before NBA games. The reason was he knew for a fact before he stepped on the court, he already put in more hours than the other players, all of them, every single one.
Oh, yeah.
So
he did.
Yeah. So he said, what do I have to be worried about? I'm better prepared than every single one of them. And so he started believing in himself. And for me, I feel very similarly. When it comes to the world of SEO and digital marketing, I've dedicated the last 10 years to this. Yeah. And so and I've worked at the best companies. I've worked with some of the best founders in the world, in the mecca of startup world, San Francisco, and the same in Los Angeles. So I've put in my dues. I've worked with guys. My last boss is Eric Wu. He's the co-founder of Open Door. He's a billionaire. And we're on a first name basis. We're friends. And so, I've put in, I've sort of earned my stripes, I feel now.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I'm inspired by what you and John have been able to accomplish with Grow, which, speaking of which, how did you started Grow, correct me if I'm wrong, in September of 2020. Okay. And at the time of this interview, it is, April of 2022. And you just mentioned that you have surpassed $10 million a year in revenue, which is phenomenal. I'm going to pat you on the back for that one. So
thank you.
How did you, that's in less than 2 years, man. How did you start Grow?
Well, I was working at Open Door, and I was starting to do freelance SEO work for a company called rickwool.com. Uh-huh. And at the same time, John and I became very close best friends. And he was doing the same thing. He had a full-time job and he was doing freelance SEO. And we were both really, really good at it. We both really got along with each other well. And we decided to team up. And so between the two of us, we had our first 5 clients. And then we decided, hey, let's get it to 10 clients before we quit our jobs. We then quit our jobs. And then we started it. And we thought, let's go really, really, really deep on SEO. We have a competitive advantage here. We know it better than most people. We care about the subject matter more than most people. I think we have a competitive edge here. I think we can win here. So that's how we started it.
That's amazing. How did you meet John?
I met him in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous through sobriety.
Oh, okay.
Right when I moved to Los Angeles, probably the second night that I moved here, a friend of mine brought me to an AA meeting, and John was there, and we met.
Okay. Right on. So how did you learn about SEO?
Well, originally I learned about it through a boot camp that I did after Google, which was called Tradecraft.
Oh, yeah.
Where I went and learned a bunch of different subject matters in the digital marketing, growth marketing world. But then really the way I actually learned it was I showed up at my job in Los Angeles for a company called Open Listings, which eventually became Open Door. They got acquired by Open Door.
Okay.
And I was I was in charge of all organic SEO. And when I met John, I would call him probably 20 times per day, literally, no exaggeration. I'd ask him SEO questions. And we did that for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And after 2 years.
While you were working for Open Door, you and John had met and you were working at Open Door for like 2 years.
Yep.
And
every single day, he's the biggest SEO nerd I've ever met. He knows everything about it inside and out. And he's got 5 years of experience more, maybe 10 years of experience more on me in the SEO world. And so he taught me everything he knew. We've talked about everything. And so through getting 1%, more knowledgeable every single day, I then became an expert.
Yeah. So you learned from on the job, doing it on the job, working for somebody else. And then now you guys have learned it from doing, obviously taking on clients and doing work for them.
Yeah. And we also have our own web property. We own thewordcounter.com. So we decided to build our own case study that does 1 million unique visitors a month. So we've built
can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So I just felt like, hey, we're going to start an SEO agency. We need to have our own web property. We need to have our own website. And we need to prove that the strategies we're talking about, they work, and that we spent our own money on it, because I can't name you one other SEO agency that has done that. Mm-hmm. And for that reason, I feel like we're better and we're more formidable to win, the business away from other agencies, because we've actually done it and we laid out, our money to do it. And so that is an English grammar website. It basically answers every question you could have about, what is a preposition? What is a verb and how do we use it? So that's been around since the day we started grow. So a little, right around 2 years, and it does over 1 million unique visitors a month. It's been highly, highly successful. And
it's wordcounter.com or .net or what?
It's thewordcounter.com.
Thewordcounter.com.
Yep.
Right on. I'll have to check that out. There was another story I read about you to do with Uber. Google Ads. Can you share a little bit about that? That's a pretty neat story.
It's timely because that
Uber.
It's timely because the show Super Pumped is on Amazon Prime right now, and it's all about Uber.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
When I was working at Google, I built a website. It's called I think it might still be live. uberfreerides.wordpress.com. I'm gonna look it up right now. See if it's still live. Yeah, so it's still live. It's posted 8 years ago. The last edit I made to it was 8 years ago. That's hilarious.
uberfreerides.wordpress.com.
Yes, and this is a promo code where you would go, and basically I would drive traffic from Google Ads, people who were searching for Uber promo code, Uber $20 off, because they had a promotion that if I invited you, Matt, to Uber and you took your first ride, I would get $20 of free ride credit, and so would you.
Wow.
So then I built a website, drove traffic to it, and it converted like crazy. If I spent $1 in ads, I made $50 in ad credit or in Uber credit.
Uber credit.
And so I ended up doing it, I through word of mouth, I started doing it for my brother, which then he told his friends about it. I started doing it for them. One of them had a startup that was funded by a really well-known venture capitalist. I got introduced to that guy. He gave me his credit card. He said, as long as this is profitable, go and do it. I ended up doing Uber rides for David Chang, which is like the world-renowned chef. He was all over the Olympics. He's an amazing person, great entrepreneur. I ended up doing it for a number of people who were like really acclaimed in the business world through this, just by being referred word of mouth. And I probably generated, over $1 million in Uber credit. And then eventually Uber decided this was totally within their terms of service until it wasn't. They changed it one day, and then they called me and said, we're banning you. And I explained to them very clearly, I'm spending my own ad dollars to acquire customers for you. So effectively I work at Uber in the growth marketing department. And you're not paying me, this is a good deal for you, but they didn't see it that way. And then they banned me. I've never been able to ride Uber since. It's been 8 years.
And they banned you. You mean they banned you from even using their service?
Yes. Of using their service as well.
Oh my good.
But I probably referred them. I'm solely responsible for probably 10,000 new customers.
Yeah.
Taking their first ride. Yeah.
And the hardest thing to get is a customer. And who knows how many times they became repeat customers after that.
Of course.
Wow.
So, and then I asked them for a job. I said, hey, clearly I'm good at this. Why don't I work there? And they said no. Yeah. So, sometimes weird things happen, but it was a cool experience for me. And And I had no money at the time. San Francisco is expensive for a 22-year-old. So I was having a lot of fun because I was going out to bars and I was riding in black Escalades everywhere I went. All my friends were riding in black Escalades. We had free food, free drinks everywhere because they had acquired several like food delivery services at that time. So it was very,
wow.
yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
I was probably spending, if I was to do the same behavior with real dollars, I was probably spending at least $5,000 a month on Uber.
Wow.
So it was pretty significant. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty amazing. I know of anyway, I won't, it's not important. We were just talking about, that, and then, and as well as about your agency, and Grow has achieved a $10 million a year in annual revenue. And yet you've been in business less than 2 years. I personally know of agencies that have been in business longer than that. It's crazy. I know of one agency that's, their goal is to try and get 2 more clients this year, and it's only April. So what you've done is very significant. So how did you guys handle the fast growth and scale your agency? I mean, you essentially started this agency during COVID.
We have an exceptional people team that has been, I created a process for recruiting high quality individuals at a speed that I've never seen before.
Oh, wow.
So I credit a lot of the success to that. My business partner, John, is one of the most prolific and best salespeople I've ever encountered in my life, my professional life.
That's amazing.
And so I credit a lot of the success to that. We are also very well networked, and we have a lot of important people who are friends with us that want to see us succeed. They've referred a lot of business to us, and we pay them for that business. So that's another reason why. And
you have a paid referral program.
Yeah, we do. Yep. And it's huge. And there's probably 100 individuals who are in that right now, getting paid on a monthly basis. And I mean, those 3 reasons really are what has led to our ability to scale, along with like our relentless leadership. No one, you can't put more. We've put every ounce of our blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. This is not a lifestyle business. A lot of agencies are. This is not. And so I think that shows in the production.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. So how did you guys take what you know? Because it's one thing to know about SEO. It's another thing to take it and turn it into a product and service that you can resell to others. For instance, like one way that I have been told is to record what you do every 15 minutes on an activity. So let's SEO, for instance, and document that for 8 hours or however many hours you do that activity or that process. And then you can create training videos of how to do that and then train someone, because this should only take 15 minutes. This should only take 15 minutes. This should only take 15 minutes. And, Michael Gerber teaches something like that similar in his book, The E-Myth Revisited. Has it been like that for you guys, or has it been such a, because you have like, what did you say? How many employees now? 100?
100.
Yeah. I mean, were you able to do that, or how has that process been? I don't want you to reveal any proprietary things, but has it just been flying off the seat of your pants, or has there been like some structured?
I mean, we've been flying by the seat of our pants. This is my first time doing this. This is I'm learning as I go. I have a group of advisors that I speak to all the time, asking them questions. Hey, what should I do here? What should I do there? But honestly, I'm using my best judgment. I'm building the road as I'm running down it. It's not just trying to make the best decision. Not all of them have been the best thing. We've learned in retrospect, made tons of mistakes, but no, we're up for the challenge. We just are trying to see what works every day. But I honestly feel like we're moving at light speed. I think one business day here is like 4 or 5 business days at any other company I've ever worked at.
Oh, probably. I don't doubt it. I think just knowing a little bit about your story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you look for in new team members then when you're looking for new talent?
Attitude. Yeah, that's it.
So they could have like, go ahead. Attitude
and, where they've been in their previous life. Have they overcome any challenges, hardships? Where are they coming from a entitlement standpoint? Like, are they grateful for the job, or are they thinking that we're lucky to have them. It needs to be an equal distribution, right? We want to, how do they treat other people? We look at all those intangibles. Of course, you look at, do they have the requisite skills to do the job they're interviewing for? That's number one. But beyond all that, it's like, where are they meeting us on an emotional level?
Yeah. I've read John hired someone who had no experience whatsoever, and yet that person totally lit your guys' company up. Somebody worked at Starbucks or something like that.
Yes,
if my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, correct. He was a barista in Lynchburg, Virginia, and he came in with that attitude. He's like, "Hey, I'm a hungry person. I'm recently married. I need money. I'm gonna just, if you can train me, I'll do everything I can. I'll work tirelessly." And he was highly, highly intelligent, and we could see that from day one. And he applied himself. And
that's awesome.
He became an amazing account. He would start as a writer, as a contracted writer. We hired him full time as a account manager. He learned SEO, became proficient in SEO. And now he leads our learning and development department, where he conducts trainings, works on employee onboardings, things that are really, really important and critical to our ability to scale.
Wow. So finding the right people is definitely important in
everything, especially in an agency. It's important in every company. It's most important in people businesses, in an agency. Yeah. All you have is your people. The whole product is your people. We don't have a SaaS service or a SaaS product to fall back on.
Yeah. What are your daily habits for connecting with your team? I'm assuming, how much of your team is remote? Like, I'm assuming a lot of people, like in today's day and age with COVID, like
75% are remote. Yeah.
Yeah.
But connecting with people, I come into the office every day and I check in on all the people who are in the office. We use a software called Donut that allows me to set up impromptu 30-minute calls with employees at random. So I don't, it could be a guy who started this week or a girl who started this week, or it could be someone who's been here for 2 years. It's just completely random, agnostic of department, agnostic of seniority, And so we do that with every single employee so that they can meet everyone at the company, because that's how we're bridging the gap in a remote or a hybrid work culture, rather.
So it's like remote water cooler software.
Yeah, exactly. Remote water cooler software.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. That is cool.
Yep.
What techniques do you use to support employees who are underperforming?
Oh, the number one technique that we've perfected is direct feedback.
Yeah.
That's
feedback.
Yep. We tell people politely and respectfully where they're coming short, and we outline what they need to do to no longer fall short. We don't try to beat around the bush. We don't do anything fancy. We have found that, direct feedback, direct communication in work, but most importantly in life, is like a critical thing. And so we try to do that. But just so you know, you probably already do know this. Yeah. That's one of the hardest things for most people in the world to do. Directly communicate. Most people don't like confrontation, myself included. No. I've been forced to become comfortable with it. That's the number one thing that's been hardest for me, is telling people, hey, you're not doing well. I don't want to tell people that. Yeah. I don't like those conversations. Or we need to part ways or whatever it might be. I don't enjoy that, but it's something that is par for the course. If you want to be, a leader in a company, it's something you have to, a skill set you must hone.
Yeah. So what resources would you recommend to other CEOs to develop the skills that are needed to do what you're doing?
Well, I have a CEO coach. His name is Tom Moore. And he's fantastic. So I would refer him to other CEOs. For me, I need on-hand coaching, just like I need a trainer in the gym. I need a trainer in the office. And so that's how I treat it. There are other leadership courses, like there's a online Dale Carnegie leadership course that I've heard is very good. But for me, I need that hands-on coaching. I recommend that any other CEO get that same thing.
A mentor. Yeah. I think that's what John Maxwell talked about. He said, one of the laws of leadership was you need a mentor. And the other one was you need a protege. Someone that, you can groom to take over if you want to go on vacation or something like that. Yeah. So in regards to SEO, What is your guys' approach? I mean, I know you've been successful. There's no doubt about it. Like, for instance, how many page views have you guys generated so far? I think the number is ridiculous.
Over 1 billion.
Yeah, in a year in a year, in less than 2 years for clients.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal, Kevin. So I don't know if you want to. I don't want to steal your secret sauce, but is there a particular way that you generalization or that you'd be comfortable sharing that of your SEO process looks like?
Yeah, sure. No, it's completely public. We do 3 things. We do content writing.
Yeah.
So we write long form blog posts, number 1.
Okay.
That answer questions that people have on Google about a product or a service.
Yeah.
We generate backlinks by getting our clients written up in the news in a very repeatable white hat process.
Yeah.
And then we do on-page optimization, which is the technical SEO work. And those 3 things together, content, backlinks, and technical SEO, that makes for a complete and robust SEO strategy.
Yeah. No, absolutely makes sense. In regards to press, what made you specifically choose, like, for instance, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to say something wrong, but like you guys do direct to consumer brands mainly.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep.
What made you guys choose that specific area of business to focus on?
We didn't want to be at the bottom of the market, which is the SEO companies that work with auto dealers and different things like that, because we didn't feel like they actually offered real unique value.
Yeah.
We couldn't go to the top of the market because that's the McDonald's, the Hertz,
yeah,
Geico's of the world. You need those. You need relationships. You need tenure. You need a bunch of stuff. We fell into direct to consumer e-commerce. That's like my friends are starting direct to consumer e-commerce companies. That's where my network was. That's where John's network was. That's who we were getting. So we kind of just fell into it. And then we found that our product is uniquely positioned to work for that stage of company. And there was very clear, strong product market fit for our process and that sector in the market. And for us, we became fortunate because direct to consumer e-commerce has been booming. The total number of addressable companies we could work with grows exponentially every day. And so we felt like for those reasons, that was a market that we can go very deep into and have significant success.
Yeah, which has obviously proved to be true.
Yep.
In regards to press releases and unique things like that, do you guys try and find a unique angle to write a press release about? Obviously, if it's a new product, there's something there for a press release, but are there strategies and ways that you have to think of to come up with a press release angle?
Well, we have professional press writers who write these releases, but no, we don't. We only announce things that are material, fundraising, product launch, new developments in the executive team, things like that. Okay. So we don't do a press release just to do a press release. We make sure that it's something that is newsworthy, noteworthy, and makes sense from a brand perspective.
Okay. Fair enough, because some SEOs just try and get a press release written just for the sake of getting back.
Well, they're important. It works.
It
works, but you got to make sure that there's also value for the reader.
Yeah, newsworthy content.
Yeah, newsworthy content.
Are there any SEO tools that you regularly use or would recommend?
Yeah, Ahrefs is the number 1 tool.
Oh yeah.
SEMrush is number 2. KWfinder.com is great for keyword research. Okay. Screaming Frog is great for crawling a website. So those are the 4 that I love the most.
Do you still have your finger actively in the SEO operations of the company, or is that something that is somebody else's? No. I just had a meeting right before this for an hour with our entire SEO team on SEO operations. So. All right on.
Yeah, I am deep into it.
That's awesome. Hey, are there any SEO myths that you've had enough of hearing about?
Well, there's a new one that's coming up, which is that AI written content is going to replace human written content.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
I know everyone wants it to. Google already put out a statement that said they can detect if it's been written by a machine, not a person. And you could get a manual penalty for that. So
That's probably the biggest myth. I think people are thinking, hey, like you won't need real human copywriters anymore. I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something like a human writer. How do you think Google though is able to tell if a content's been written by AI or if it's been written by a person?
I wouldn't venture to guess because I'm not. If I was smart enough to know, I'd be Larry Page, Sergey Brin. But
great answer.
They can tell. They can tell intonation and emotion, and I think they have their ways. Is what I would say. I don't know what those ways are, but I believe, and I would never doubt that they do.
Fair enough. How do you see SEO changing in the near future?
I actually don't see a lot of, immediate changes. I don't think I think the people who are doing it right and offering real value to customers are going to succeed. And I think, they just need to be doing high quality written content over an extended, long time horizon. And if they do, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Kevin, what's the one thing that you've learned about SEO that has surprised you the most?
It takes a long time in order to reap the rewards of it. Longer than I thought. At least a year to be able to build up real significant, meaningful traffic that's going to impact the business.
Okay. So obviously if a business owner is looking to do SEO, they should know that, it's not if they need traffic today and leads today and they have a limited budget, so to speak, then, SEO should be something they should consider down the road rather than getting started on right now.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. What's the biggest challenge you've come across during your SEO career?
Oh, wow. Well, really, it's just building a team and keeping 100 people happy and motivated and productive at once, and having them all move in harmony towards one goal. That's the hardest thing I've come across. I've come across manual penalties and different things like that, but nothing as difficult as leading a team in one cohesive direction. Yeah.
Of 100 people. Yeah, I wouldn't even know the first thing about doing that. That would be a huge challenge. Are there any special tips that you would be willing to share with our audience that they can implement and gain benefits from? You don't have to answer that question.
Well, I'm just thinking, however you can get your website written up in the news is a big one. Big.
Oh, okay.
Because, it's just that's what's going to get your website found online and make it important in the eyes of Google. So whether it's reaching out to journalists, whether it's responding to queries from helpareporter.com, those are the things that I would try to focus on.
Yeah. I've heard about helpareporterout.com and that, it's a way. Okay. Well, fantastic.
And
well,
all the readers should use that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listeners.
Hey, in closing, I just have, before I ask you about where people can find out more about you, I just have 5 rapid fire questions to ask you.
Sure.
What is your favorite month?
My favorite month? I'd say December. I love Christmas.
Oh, right on. What's your favorite season?
Fall.
And what is your favorite movie genre?
Comedy.
What time do you usually wake up in the morning?
6 a.m.
And Android or iOS?
iOS.
All right on. Well, hey, Kevin, thanks very much for being on the show. If people want to find out more about you, where could they do that online?
I have a personal website, kevinmiller.com.
Okay.
And on that website, they can find my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Twitter. Of course, my company website is GR0.com, and everything can be found there as well.
Oh, fantastic. Hey, Kevin, I really appreciate you being on the show today. It's fantastic talking to you. Glad we could get this done. And I wish you nothing but continued success with your agency grow.
I feel the same. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to join you today. It was a pleasure.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thave a great day.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay. Bye-bye.